John J. Ray III had seen corporate disasters before. He'd cleaned up Enron, one of the biggest accounting frauds in American history. But when he took over FTX in November 2022, he said something that stopped everyone cold. "Never in my career have I seen such a complete failure of corporate controls." This was the man who handled Enron, calling FTX worse. Just days earlier, Sam Bankman-Fried had been crypto's golden boy, the disheveled genius in shorts and t-shirts, sleeping on beanbags in his office, pledging to give away 99% of his fortune to save the world. He'd built FTX into a $32 billion empire in just 3 years. Venture capital firms lined up to invest. Celebrities endorsed him. Politicians took his donations. Then it all collapsed in less than a week. The question wasn't just how it happened. The question was how the cleanup expert from history's most infamous corporate fraud could find FTX even worse than Enron. Sam Bankman-Fried seemed destined for something big. MIT physics grad, brilliant trader at Jane Street, one of Wall Street's most prestigious quantitative trading firms. But he wasn't interested in just making money. He'd discovered effective altruism, a philosophy that said if you really wanted to change the world, you should get rich first, then give it all away. So in 2017, he founded Alameda Research to exploit opportunities in crypto markets. The pitch was simple: buy Bitcoin cheap in one country, sell it expensive in another, pocket the difference. At one point, Bitcoin traded for thousands of dollars more in Japan than in the US. Alameda made millions on pure arbitrage. By 2019, Sam was ready for his next move. He launched FTX, a cryptocurrency exchange marketed as built by traders for traders. It offered complex derivatives, leveraged tokens, and sophisticated products that most exchanges couldn't match. FTX also created its own token, FTT, which gave holders trading fee discounts and other benefits on the platform. Within months, FTX was raising hundreds of millions from top venture capital firms. Within 2 years, it was valued at $32 billion. But FTX wasn't just building a business, they were building a myth. In 2021, FTX paid $135 million for the naming rights to the Miami Heat's arena. They ran a Super Bowl ad featuring Larry David dismissing new inventions throughout history, ending with him skeptically rejecting crypto, the joke being that skeptics are always wrong. Tom Brady became a spokesman, so did Gisele Bündchen, Steph Curry, and Shaquille O'Neal. SBF cultivated an image that set him apart from other crypto founders. He wore shorts to meetings with investors. He drove a beat-up Toyota Corolla. He slept on a beanbag in his office. The message was clear. This wasn't about personal wealth. This was about changing the world. Then he took that image to Washington. SBF donated over $40 million to political campaigns, making him one of the largest political donors in the country. He testified before Congress about crypto regulation. He positioned FTX as the responsible company, the one that wanted oversight, the one that played by the rules. Behind every interview, every endorsement, every political donation was the same carefully crafted story. Sam Bankman-Fried was different. He was the altruistic billionaire who just wanted to do good. But underneath that image, a fatal flaw was growing. The core deception was simple. FTX and Alameda Research weren't separate companies. They were financially entangled in ways that violated the most basic rules of financial management. Here's how it was supposed to work. You deposit money on FTX to trade crypto. FTX holds that money in reserve, matches you with other traders, takes a small fee. Your deposits stay yours. That's how exchanges work. But that's not what was happening. FTX had given Alameda Research special privileges on the platform. Alameda was exempt from the auto-liquidation protocols that protected other customers. While everyone else had limits on how much they could borrow, Alameda had essentially unlimited access to customer funds. When Alameda needed money to cover trading losses, it just borrowed from FTX. When it needed to make investments, it borrowed from FTX. When executives wanted to buy luxury real estate in the Bahamas, they borrowed from FTX. The money came from customer deposits that were supposed to be sitting safely in reserve. The FTT token became central to the deception. Alameda's balance sheet showed billions in assets, but a huge portion of that was FTT and related tokens that FTX and Alameda controlled. They were using tokens they invented as collateral to borrow real money. The entire empire was built on a foundation of their own creation. The vulnerabilities became obvious in May 2022 when the Terra and Luna cryptocurrencies collapsed, wiping out $60 billion in value almost overnight. The crypto market went into freefall, companies started going bankrupt, lenders started demanding their money back. SBF positioned himself as the savior. He bailed out struggling crypto firms, extended lines of credit, even bought out competitors. The media called him the JP Morgan of crypto, the grown-up in the room who had the capital to rescue the industry. But he was using customer money to play savior. Throughout 2022, there were warning signs. Sam Trabucco, co-CEO of Alameda, resigned in August. Brett Harrison, president of FTX US, resigned in September. By fall, key executives were quietly leaving. Then came the catalyst. On November 2nd, 2022, CoinDesk published Alameda's balance sheet. The numbers were shocking. Out of $14.6 billion in assets, $5.8 billion was FTT and related tokens. The company that was supposed to be a sophisticated trading firm was mostly holding tokens invented by its sister company. The revelation raised an obvious question. What happens if FTT's price drops? 4 days later, Changpeng Zhao, CEO of Binance and FTX's biggest competitor, provided the answer. He announced that Binance would sell its entire position in FTT, roughly $529 million worth of tokens. The reason? Risk management. The market understood what that meant. If Binance didn't trust FTT, why should anyone else? FTT's price started dropping. As it fell, Alameda's collateral evaporated. And as Alameda's collateral evaporated, customers started wondering if their deposits were safe. The bank run began. Within 72 hours, customers tried to withdraw $6 billion. FTX couldn't meet the demand. The money wasn't there. It had been loaned to Alameda, invested in real estate, spent on political donations, used to bail out other companies. On November 8th, in a stunning reversal, SBF announced that Binance had agreed to acquire FTX. CZ, his rival, would bail him out. The crypto world held its breath. The rescue lasted less than 24 hours. After looking at FTX's books, Binance walked away. The statement was brief but damning. Mishandled customer funds and alleged US agency investigations. If Binance wouldn't touch it, nobody would. The house of cards was collapsing. On November 11th, 2022, FTX filed for bankruptcy. Sam Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO. John J. Ray III, the man who had liquidated Enron, took over. What Ray found was worse than anyone imagined. In his testimony to Congress on December 13th, Ray described FTX's practices as old-fashioned embezzlement. There was no proper accounting. Corporate funds and personal funds were mixed together. Executives communicated on apps that auto-deleted messages. Customer deposits were used for everything from speculative investments to buying luxury condos in the Bahamas. This wasn't sophisticated financial engineering. This was basic theft dressed up in the language of innovation. The inner circle started turning. Caroline Ellison, who'd succeeded Sam as CEO of Alameda and had been romantically involved with him, pleaded guilty. She agreed to testify that SBF had directed the misuse of customer funds. Gary Wang, FTX's co-founder and chief technology officer, did the same. So did Nishad Singh, the director of engineering. They all told the same story. Sam knew. Sam directed it. Sam made the decisions that led billions of dollars in customer deposits to vanish into Alameda's risky bets and personal spending. SBF's response was bizarre. He went on a media tour, giving interviews while under investigation, posting cryptic Twitter threads that spelled out what happened one letter at a time. He admitted mistakes but denied fraud. He said he'd been overwhelmed, that he hadn't understood the full picture, that there had been poor internal labeling of accounts. In December 2022, Bahamian authorities arrested him. He was extradited to the United States and charged with wire fraud, securities fraud, and money laundering. The government alleged he'd orchestrated one of the biggest financial frauds in American history. His trial began in October 2023. Former colleagues testified against him. Customers described losing their life savings. Investors explained how they'd been deceived by financial statements that bore no relation to reality. The jury convicted him on all 7 counts on November 2nd, 2023. In March 2024, Sam Bankman-Fried was sentenced to 25 years in prison and ordered to forfeit $11 billion. The FTX collapse exposes a fundamental truth. Charisma, a compelling narrative, and backing from prestigious institutions can hide a complete absence of corporate controls. SBF wasn't a sophisticated fraudster. He was running what John Ray called old-fashioned embezzlement behind a carefully constructed image. The disheveled genius who slept on beanbags and pledged to give away his fortune. The responsible crypto company that welcomed regulation. The venture capital firms, celebrities, and politicians who lent their credibility. All of it masked basic theft of customer funds and a total failure of financial management. The real cost was paid by those who believed in the story, ordinary people who trusted the image over the fundamentals. The lasting lesson: when someone tells you they're different, that the rules don't apply to them because they're doing good, that's precisely when you need to look harder at the controls.